Is this okay? You've got nothing except weak spots.
Here we go. His first touch. This guy's built different! His acceleration is explosive! Once he's in top gear, he doesn't slow down his dribbling, even with those huge strides! He has a higher gear?
Now, in my opinion, that moment you just saw was one of the dopest anime scenes I've seen in the last like 5 years, 100%. And while it is fiction, what if I told you that you could have a significant advantage over the other guys, not only on the opposing team, but on your team? You'll be that guy if everything else remains equal. The sweat, blood, and tears that you put into your soccer, mercilessly going over plays, your strength training regimen, your cardio regimen, but there was just something that just gave you the edge, that it factor, so you could be just like Julian Loki here. And the answer is staying still. Why would isometrics give you that it factor with all other factors remaining constant? Let's get into this. Now, for those newer to the channel, isometric exercises are exercises that put our muscles under load without any movement. So we're used to seeing muscles under load with movement, which is called dynamic exercises, but muscles that are under load without movement are called isometric exercises. So most people think of planks and wall sits, and honestly, at the most elite levels of performance, we don't really look at isometrics like that, which I think is understandable because they don't know about this specific facet of isometrics called overcoming isometric training, which is designed to make you as explosive as humanly possible, with second place being plyometric exercises. Now, first, if we look at the game of soccer, right, and you really want to focus on being elite, truly achieving elite status in soccer requires a combination of physical, technical, mental, and tactical attributes. So we're talking about mastery of ball control, dribbling, passing, and shooting. Absolutely fundamental. Elite players exhibit exceptional technical skills, which is going to enable precise execution under pressure. Keywords: under pressure. High levels of endurance, speed, strength, and agility are also essential. Soccer demands sustained physical exertion. You can't just play for 2 minutes. You have to be able to be the Energizer Bunny, or you are just never going to be at elite levels of performance as a soccer player. And elite players maintain peak fitness to perform consistently. Understanding the game strategies, positioning, and the ability to read the game are critical. Elite players make quick, effective decisions, adapting to dynamic match situations. You gotta be tough too, but not just physically, mentally. When we're in the realm of sports, if you're truly elite, you know darn well that it's not just about your body, it's also about what's going on in here. Resilience, focus, and the ability to handle pressure distinguish top players from average players. A strong mindset is going to enable them to overcome challenges and maintain performance levels that an average player with a decent body, mind you, would hit a hard cap at. Lastly is adaptability, the ability to be able to handle any unfavorable situation that shows up on the fly. The capacity to adjust to different playing styles, positions, and tactical systems is vital. Elite players are versatile, contributing effectively in various roles as required. Now, obviously, developing all these attributes takes years. Every now and then, you'll run into a prodigy like Mbappe, who just takes the world by storm. But going back to what we were talking about in the beginning of the video, let's say you have all these factors, but you throw overcoming isometrics into the mix. Let's just say you throw isometrics into the mix, period. Not even talking about OI, all right? So the benefits to isometrics that we talk about a lot on this channel, which is isometric focused, obviously, okay, is let's talk about the joint health. So we have a video on isometrics and joint health and why they are far and away one of the most superior ways to bulletproof your entire body for the long term, not just some 90-day hack. Long term, you want to be lifting into your old age, you need to be using isometrics. All right, here's a link right here. Go and check that video out. Really good stuff. But usually when we talk about injury, speaking of lifting into our old age, all right, even with sports, if you want to talk about longevity, how long you can be active in the sports, because usually when we have high level play in any type of sport like this, the shelf life of players are typically not that long, and that's understandable. Your body is being pushed to its absolute limit consistently. All right, it's totally different from simply exercising. You're exercising and playing an intense sport. Your body is going to be like, dude. So how do you extend that over a longer term? That makes you incredibly valuable, by the way. If your shelf life is longer than someone else, that's more money for you, isn't it? So in our video that I just had the link in the upper right hand corner for, we talk about how isometrics are good for the tendons, the ligaments, the bursa, and we go into everything related to connective tissue. What's one of the most common injuries in any type of sport? Pulling a ham, unfortunately ACL tears, Achilles, or even just Achilles sprains, meniscus tears, muscle sprains, and these are just to name a few. But notice that most of the injuries that we talk about, we run into in most sports that are very intense, involve the joints. Why do they involve the joints? Simply because, right, we're only as strong as our weakest links. So our muscles might be conditioned to take a beating over the course of time. But if our joints, specifically our tendons and ligaments, which take a lot longer to strengthen than the actual muscle tissue, are not strong enough, when these forces come to inevitably impact the body, the first thing that's going to go are going to be the joints. And that's why you see more of those types of injuries than the other. So the biggest boon would be significantly increasing your durability by having stronger connective tissues than your playmates and your opponents. Then we also have an increase in muscular endurance. Now, for those that have performed an isometric exercise for time, yeah, sure, planks, sure, wall sits, I mean, they can burn like hell after a while, and those are great ways, by the way, to increase your muscular endurance. It's hellish too if you're some type of masochist, but I mean, they do work. But I'm talking about, if you've ever seen exercises like this here, you have to hold a contraction for time at X amount of force. That is some brutal time under tension. But you are training your body, like in this example here, I'm having a client hold that squat position for 20 seconds. Now for endurance hold, you want to hold it for about a minute to 2 minutes at about 20 to 30 seconds of your maximal contraction. And you want to make sure that that number doesn't drop below the targeted number. So you want to be hearing the beeps all the time. That is freaking brutal. There's not a chance your muscular endurance isn't going to skyrocket throwing a 3 to 5 time a week program into your mix, especially considering how little isometric takes up as far as like time constraints. So we have muscular endurance, we have joint integrity, we also have explosiveness. So this is where you're going to get one of the biggest, now I'd say it has a little bit of an edge over endurance, because if you don't have any muscular endurance in the game of soccer, probably not going to go that far. Just a guess here. What's that? You're running down that field and you can only make it a quarter of the way before your thighs are on fire. Hey, you're out, buddy. You're out, you're off the team. So you need the muscular endurance, but you also need to be explosive. When you're locked in and you're facing your opponent and you need to cut in and out, and forgive me, I'm not too well versed in the game of soccer, but I do know the basics. You are going to have a huge edge. If you are more explosive than your opponent, you're going to trip them up. It's going to be like those basketball memes when you broke their ankles. Everybody's going to be looking at it. The crowd is going to go wild. And your coach is going to wonder, like, where did this come from? He's a completely different person from 90 days ago. Your joints are stronger. Your muscular endurance is higher, and you are much more explosive. Now, why are you explosive with isometric exercises? This is because overcoming isometrics, least talked about form of, in my opinion, exercise, period. One of them. It's a very small niche that we talk about on this channel, which is really sad considering the amount of power that you develop from overcoming ISO. It's criminal. It's criminal. People don't talk about OI. It's criminal. But this comes from a method of training called the 6-second contraction. Now here's a link right here. Definitely go check that video out. I cover the 6-second contraction and why the number 6 of all the possible numbers is the number that was settled upon for optimal fitness and strength development and power development. So you can check that information out in that video. But having a powerful 6-second contraction with this specific type of contraction in isometrics called MVC, maximal voluntary contraction, which we have a video on that too. Here's the link right here. You are teaching your body to contract, go all in at the highest end of the force velocity curve. So your body is going to start to adapt to being able to fire on all cylinders thanks to another principle in fitness called Hebb's rule, which states that muscle fibers that wire together fire together. Longtime subscribers of the channel probably have heard that ad nauseum, but you guys know by training your muscle fibers to fire on all cylinders, when it's time for the body to now move, it's going to be trained like, oh, this is what we were doing in practice. All right, time to execute. Whether it's dynamic or isometric, it doesn't matter. The thing about isometrics though, especially overcoming isometrics, is that we are really tapping into that type 2 fast twitch muscle fiber. We are contracting with everything that we have for 6 seconds, getting a 20-second rest time, and then going into it again. And for those that have performed a 6-second contraction using 100%, you couldn't deliver another ounce more of energy to that contraction, so you know what that feels like. That is the ultimate way to develop strength. So now you have someone on the field, and mind you, it doesn't really make you bulky. Think of like the One Punch Man type of physique. You take off the costume and he's absolutely freaking shredded, but he doesn't look like, you know, Mr. Olympia, but there's incredible power in that body. People are going to be wondering what's going on. You throw that into a game like soccer, where your explosiveness, your muscular endurance, and the ability to stay on the field longer and stave off injury over the long term are looked at every single practice and every single big game. Congratulations, you are now the MVP. Now, obviously, this won't happen in like a month or so. This is going to take months, if not a couple of years, to really hone in and get these isometrics under your belt so that your body is conditioned to perform at these elite levels consistently. But once 6 months has passed, you are a different athlete entirely, taking this training seriously. Remember, if you treat this training like it's some type of gimmick, you're gonna get gimmick results. Just like if you treat the gym like some type of gimmick, then you're gonna get gimmick results. You're gonna be in there 2 years from now looking exactly the same. These isometrics are no joke. It's not a gimmick. You treat it seriously, you're going to be able to perform like some of these old-time strongmen, like Alexander Zast that had a 2,200 pound horse on his back, or like Bruce Lee, who despite being 135 pounds was able to launch people across the room. That wasn't acting, that was power. They both use isometrics. Different body types, same explosive result. Which side are you going to be on? Now, if you'd like to learn more about isometrics, I have a video on the top 10 isometric myths that I think you might find informative and kind of funny. So if you want to check that video out, here's a link right here. Definitely go check that out. We'll see you there.